So we're actually also protecting terrorists as part of this Benghazi cover-up.
We're harboring them.
Yeah, so we don't have to be honest and say it was Al-Qaeda. Someone has to say what they did wrong because he's a threat, right? He doesn't even live that far from the CIA. He is a threat to Americans. And so someone actually has to do the right thing and say it, right? Like, he needs to be deported. So we knew who planned the mortar attack, right? His name was Wissam bin Hamid. He's deceased now, and we talked about him last time.
This is the mortar attack in Benghazi.
Yeah, so this was the one on the CIA annex on September 12th. So, that night there were 6 terrorist attacks. So this is the last one that killed Ronan Bub, or as, the SEAL team calls him, Ty. So this is the team then who shot the mortars. So they were obviously, as you can imagine, we were CIA. So the mortar team has always been like the holy grail of our investigation, right? Like, we have to get the mortar team. So the interesting part is we spent all this time thinking they were under this Wissam bin Hamid, and he ran a group called Libya Shield. So we spent tons of time looking for the mortar team inside Libya Shield, right? Because we're like, he had to have used his own group members. Of course not. He called the best mortar team in town that night and said, hey, I need you to do a mortar strike in the CIA. And they said, sure. So that's why it took us so long to identify the mortar team, because we were looking in the completely wrong group. So the mortar team ended up it was called the Hassan al-Jabr cell. And really that name it was actually, the crazy part is everything always ties together. There was an Al Jazeera journalist, and he basically got ambushed and killed. And so the cell named themselves after it. But the interesting part is the ambush and kill was to kill this basically senior commander, Abdel Fattah Yunus. And he was kind of the other General Haftar. There was like 2 General Haftars. So this journalist was going to interview him. So the terrorists were like, good, we'll kill him with the journalist. Well, the journalist hadn't got to him yet. And so they ambushed the journalist, and unfortunately killed the journalist and some of his team. I'm friends with one of the security detail on the team. There's a video of this. It's on like YouTube, the ambush and everything.
No kidding.
Because they're filming, because they're going to go do an interview. So anyway, they kill him. So it's just really interesting, because when this general ends up dying, the people involved are Ahmed Abu Khatala, who the U.S. framed as a mastermind, the brother of Wissam bin Hamid, Mohammed bin Hamid, right? So it was our terrorists who then ended up going and killing this general. So it likely was our terrorists in some fashion who unfortunately also killed this Al Jazeera reporter. So anyway, the cell's named after them, and they're inside of another group called the Rafala al-Sahati Brigades. And then the Rafala al-Sahati Brigades was a cell within 17 February Martyrs Brigade. So for the people who know the Benghazi story, most people understand the 17 February Martyrs Brigade was like the security, like outside given by the government of Libya to protect the consulate. And then there was a private company called the Blue Mountain Group who were the next step in, and they were like the local guards on the compound. And remember when I talked about the terrorist that was detained for like the child rape a few months ago? He was Blue Mountain Group. And I think that's one of the reasons why we can't get it in the U.S. press, because the U.S. government has always said Blue Mountain Group didn't have any terrorists, no Blue Mountain Group members attacked us, and he was a member of Blue Mountain Group. Remember, that was a State Department paid contract to Blue Mountain. So basically, State Department paid for that attacker. And they don't want to be honest about it. So anyway, this is how incestuous it is. So this Rafala al-Sahati, they were the mortar team. And then they also had attackers at the consulate. So this group was involved in both. But it makes perfect sense. So the U.S. had really bad collection of terrorism at the time. But it makes sense because the person who ran the group, his name is Mohammed al-Gharabi. He goes back and forth between Libya and Turkey a lot. He's top 10 of our investigation. He was the al-Qaeda commander for Benghazi at the time. He had fought with al-Qaeda in the Mujahideen, Afghanistan. The U.S. did not know that was his job. They only knew him as the commander of Rafala al-Sahati, if that makes sense, which they thought, it's like an Islamist militia. So if you actually learn who these people are and what their roles are, it's just all Al-Qaeda, right? And Al-Qaeda asked Al-Qaeda guys to do everything. But because the U.S. didn't do the investigation right, like a lot of people still don't understand all these inner workings.
Did you share the mortar team with the FBI?
Yes.
How did that go?
So it didn't go anywhere. So obviously I'm a targeter, right? So we didn't just find the mortar team. We found the information you would need to target the mortar team. Obviously I won't say the pieces of that information so the mortar team doesn't do something about it. So we shared that information the first week of November with the FBI and the State Department's Rewards for Justice program. We still have not had a response from the FBI. But the interesting part is the Justice Department of the United States is going to retry their fake mastermind, Ahmed Abu Khatallah, this summer, which is insane. So the first time he went through the trial, he got like 22 years, which is amazing for a guy who wasn't the mastermind, showed up late, hung out outside until Al-Qaeda left, and then went in and grabbed some useless items. Because remember, there's nothing classified in the consulate. He got 22 years. They're going to retry him for more time this summer. So anyway, they have contacted people from the CIA annex to testify against him this summer. So they have not responded to us on actually trying to go after the mortar team, but they want to have another dog and pony show with their fake mastermind and get the CIA annex people to come in and play this little game, which we're all pretty, frankly, pissed off about. The other thing is just to kind of like jump ahead, you actually saw the letter we wrote as a team.
I did.
So it was me, a case officer, our commo officer, and then the entire GRS team put out a group letter because when we identified the mortar team, 5 members of the mortar team, so the mortar team's only 10 people, so half of the mortar team were family members of FBI's key witness in their first fake mastermind trial against Ahmed Abu Khatallah. So they took this Libyan, they paid him millions of dollars, they moved him here. He testified that Abu Khatallah was the mastermind of this attack, which we've proven he's not. It's Muqtada al-Mukhtar, a famous AQIM commander. And basically, during this whole process, he has other family members at the consulate attacks, which we knew. But he basically covered up that 5 members of the mortar team were his family, and this is FBI's witness against Khatallah.
How is this happening?
I don't know. So maybe that's why they haven't responded to us. But yeah, he lives in America. He lives in Virginia, people. And the worst part is, it's not even the worst part. That is the worst part. But so I'm an intelligence officer. We all were in Benghazi. So this witness in 2011 kidnapped a Libyan intelligence officer, tortured and killed him. And he's actually wanted for that crime in Benghazi. It's a war crime, obviously. And the U.S. basically bringing him here to be involved in Khatallah's fake trial is stopping justice from that family. The intelligence officer's name was Nasser al-Sarmani. And there's actually trials going on right now for his situation. So us having this witness here is stopping that family from getting justice for that murder. And Ahmed Abu Khatallah, the fake mastermind, as I told you, killed the general. He actually has a potential of the death penalty in Benghazi. So actually the FBI setting him up as a fake mastermind also kept him alive when he should be on death row, already have been given the death sentence in Libya for that crime. So we're actually also protecting terrorists as part of this Benghazi cover-up.
We're harboring them.
Yeah, so we don't have to be honest and say it was Al-Qaeda. So good luck with that trial this summer, guys.
Oh my gosh,
It's going to be a shit show.
This is so disturbing that we just continue to do this. Mm-hmm. I mean, where do you? I don't even know what to say.
I know. I do hope this man in Virginia knows, though. The entire CIA annex team knows where you live. We know what you drive. And stay the hell away from us.
Are you worried at all bringing this information out?
I mean, that doesn't fall on me, right? FBI did a failed investigation. They brought a terrorist to America, right? Someone has to say what they did wrong because he's a threat, right? He doesn't even live that far from the CIA. He is a threat to Americans. And so someone actually has to do the right thing and say it, right? Like, he needs to be deported, like, immediately. And he needs to face trial anyway for a murder in Libya. Like, it's just what they have done with just the Benghazi investigation in general, as you can imagine. It's just so criminal. It's so incompetent. It's so frustrating for us who have been there. And now we're watching our terrorists go on and do other things, right? Like I told you, making these passports for this next generation of Al-Qaeda guys. Like, that guy should not even be free to do it. The best Al-Qaeda passport guy in the world should have been detained after Benghazi.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost just doesn't even seem real.
I know.
You know, it's
and people need to know we've been this bad for this long, right? Benghazi was 2012.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.